Hi folks, welcome to week number 3 of interpersonal communications. Hope you folks are just clicking right along and things are making sense for you. We are finishing up now with week number 2, where you had discussion posting 1 and 2 responses to classmates due, and quiz 1 and 2 that was due on Friday, October 18th. So now we are looking forward to week number 3. And this week we're going to be focusing our attentions on Chapter 3, which is all about verbal communication, and Chapter 4, which is nonverbal and mediated communication. So this week the focus really is on those different channels that we use as we communicate with those that we are in relationship with. Our language, how we use our language, how important language is in shaping perceptions. And then Chapter 4 talks about nonverbal communication. Remembering again, folks, that 60% of our social meaning of our communication comes from nonverbal. So again, very important to understand nonverbal communication, and then mediated communication, which is anything that uses technology as a channel. So anytime you text message somebody, you chat, you Skype, you Snapchat, you Instagram, even telephone and email, all of those are considered mediated communication. And for a lot of us, the bulk of our communication on a daily basis is mediated. So again, an important area to look at. So week number 3 is all about channels. How do we communicate? How do we choose to send those messages? And so you're going to be reading chapters 3 and 4. And then you're also going to be writing your first paper for me, which is your instruction manual. And that's due on Friday, October 25th by 11:59 p.m. Remember, this needs to be saved in Word, and it needs to be dropped in the appropriate drop box. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. I'm going to pull up the assignment here in just a second on our video and talk about that. But a quick reminder as well that quiz number 3 and 4 are also due by Friday, October 25th. Good opportunity, folks, to look back at quiz number 1 and 2 and see how you did, if you got the scores that you were hoping for or not. If you did not, then I would really suggest that you change up how you're preparing for these quizzes. And again, folks, most people tell me that it takes, outside of class, it takes a good 5 to 6 hours to prepare assignments and prepare for the quizzes. Again, the real key kind of resources that are available and students have told me make the biggest difference in their grades are those vocabulary worksheets, making sure to write down the definitions with page numbers, and then printing out those PowerPoint slides, 6 to a sheet as a handout, and use those as a format for note-taking. So do make sure that you kind of review your quiz 1 and 2, see how you did, and if you got scores that you were hoping for, fantastic. If you didn't, then change up how you're preparing and getting ready for quizzes for quiz number 3 and 4 that are due this Friday. Okay, so let's I'm going to turn our screen over to the instruction manual assignment that is due on Friday, October 25th. This assignment is where you actually write an instruction manual that you would give to somebody else, somebody who you are in relation with. And so, folks, this can be a romantic partner, a wife, a husband, a boyfriend, a girlfriend. It could be a co-worker. It could be a friend. It could be a cousin. It could be a roommate. I really want to encourage you to anybody that you think it would be helpful to have an instruction manual that you could write for them. And so if you look here under the assignment description, it says, when we buy a new appliance, we get a manual from the manufacturer telling us what that machine is capable of doing and how to take care of it. Unfortunately, human beings aren't born with an instruction manual, and people we meet don't hand us a set of instructions for dealing with them more effectively. We have to figure that all out by ourselves. So in this paper, you're going to remedy that unfortunate social vacuum and prepare an instruction manual about yourself to provide to current and future relational partners, also called RPSs in this description, so that these partners know what to expect, how to interact effectively with them, and then how to remedy matters when things go wrong. You'll note here that I do have directions to follow guidelines for college level writing. And for each concept chosen, analyze communication examples using the information presented in our textbook. So this really is a great opportunity for you to talk about your communication behaviors and then to choose concepts from our textbook and apply them to your own communication behaviors and analyze your communication behaviors using the information presented in our textbook. What this does is it allows me to see that you are doing self-reflection and that you're looking at your own behaviors and your own communication patterns, and you're able to better understand them and analyze them using this new information that you're learning in our course. So it's kind of that bringing those two pieces together. The paper format should be about 4 to 5 pages in length, should be double spaced. Please make sure to double check for mechanical and grammar errors. And I know I said this at our orientation, but for those of you who weren't there, or just as a quick reminder, make sure that you do visit the Learning Resource Center on either campus. These folks are fabulous with helping you with mechanical errors, punctuation, any sort of spacing, capitalization, all that. They also will help you with grammar, making sure that your verb tenses match, make sure that you've got the correct tense of verbs. They also will help you with any sort of spelling. They are really wonderful, and folks, not all of us are super gifted in that writing area, especially if English is a second language or a third language for you. You might need that extra help, and it's a wonderful opportunity to go and to get help with your writing. As you are applying concepts from our textbook, you do need to make sure that you choose at least one concept from nonverbal comm, one concept from mediated comm, and remember these are both from Chapter 4. Make sure that you choose at least one concept from language, which will be from Chapter 3, and then remember that you need one concept from communication competence, which was Chapter 1. It was the very end of Chapter 1. It's what you wrote your discussion posting number 1 on. Okay, so one concept from each of these 4 areas, at least. You can use more from there, but you need at least one from these areas. So the directions are to write a set of instructions. They should be entitled Instruction Manual for Dealing with Me. Should be a 4 to 5 page double-spaced paper. This should be intended for a relational partner in one particular role. Obviously, folks, these categories, what I do, what I think, what I feel, will be different depending on the role that you play with that person. And again, I give you some ideas: romantic partner, a coworker, a roommate, a friend, an in-law, etc. I want you to really use your self-awareness and your own self-reflection and combine that with the material covered in our course to answer the following questions. And I want you to use these headings. So start out with, you'll start out with just a quick paragraph that says, the following instruction manual is written for my husband, who I've been married for 25 years. I'm hoping this instruction manual will give him more insights into how to communicate effectively with me. So start out with just a basic paragraph, and then you can just start out with these headings. This is a manual, so you don't need transitions or anything else. You can just have what I do as your first heading. And under this section, you're going to write what sorts of behavior you will see me doing much of the time that we're together, what I usually do in situations and relationships like this. And so you can write it in the first person and say, so what I do. In a marriage situation, things that I do include, and you can use I there. So you're writing this to this other person. You will see me doing these things, right? You can see how nonverbal, mediated, and language can all be applied here as you talk about what do you do nonverbally, what do you do with language, well, how do you use mediated communication in this relationship. The second section is what I think or feel, and this is what goes underneath my skin, what you won't see me doing in this kind of relationship, but what I'm likely to be thinking or feeling. So you can talk about, maybe I use a lot of mediated communication. Maybe I feel it's important to text you every day. Why I do that, which would go under this section, is I like to feel connected to you. I like to feel that I have a chance to reach out and talk with you each day or text with you each day. The third section is maintenance recommendations, what you need to do to keep our relationship going well, what serves as fuel to sustain my energy and enthusiasm. And again, these are all written in first person, so you can say, what I need you to do to keep our relationship clicking along is this, right? Next one is safety recommendations. What I recommend you not do, what might disappoint or irritate or hurt me, causing me to withdraw or feel annoyed. Warning indicators, if you do mishandle me, if you do disappoint me, hurt me, or irritate me here, what am I likely to do? How am I going to indicate to you that something is wrong? This is literally the red blinking light, right? That they'll be able to tell if something is wrong. And then the last section is repair procedures. What you can do if you do upset me, what I might need you to do to get things back on track. So these are the 6 sections. Again, you need to label them, making sure that you have specific communication behaviors that your partner will see, making sure that you apply at least one concept from these 4 areas, making sure that you include definitions and page numbers for those concepts. And then here's the grading rubric. If you're shooting for an A, which would be an 18 to 20, you need to include at least 6 specific communication examples of your own behavior, and then provide an analysis that applies 6 concepts, making sure that at least one is from each of the 4 designated areas, with definitions and page numbers, or if you're using your e-text, chapter and section numbers. And then what I want you to do is not just enough to say, I have this communication behavior, this is an example of haptics, which are defined on page 59 as blah, 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 blah. That's great, but now I want you to take it that step further in your analysis and demonstrate your understanding and ability to apply course knowledge and information. So you'll say, this is a great example of haptics because, and then you'll analyze that behavior using that information in our textbook. So it's not just, here's my communication example, here's the concept that relates, but it's when you explain how and why that concept relates to your communication examples. If you're shooting for an A, of course, you need all 6 required areas, and again, it needs to be free of grammar or mechanical errors. So please, when you're writing your paper, keep this whole instruction sheet out in front of you, and then once you're done writing it, make sure that you go back through using this grading rubric. And I tell students to actually grade yourself. Go through just like I'm going to do when you submit it. Is there at least 6 specific communication examples? Are there 6 concepts, at least one from each of the 4 designated areas? For each of those 6 concepts, are there definitions and page or chapter section numbers? Do I have an analysis that demonstrates my understanding and ability by explaining how and why these text examples relate to my own communication examples? Does it have all 6 required areas? Is it free of grammar and mechanical errors? So that's what you're looking at for your first written paper. Again, remember, folks, that I am more than happy to take a peek at it as you get your rough draft done. Because the paper is due right here on Friday, October 25th, if you want me to review this paper, if you could get it to me by Wednesday, that Wednesday before, I can give you some feedback and comments and email it back to you. So remember, once you upload it into the Dropbox, though, I do look at that as your final paper or your final draft. So if you do want me to take a look and give you feedback, make sure that you email it to me. Hope all is going well. If you are struggling or have any questions, please do shoot me an email. I know this course moves at a really rapid pace, so my best advice to you is to work ahead if at all possible. And just make sure that you keep up with due dates and assignments. Again, the #1 reason that people don't pass this course, especially this 8-week course, is because they miss due dates and they miss assignments. So please keep up with your work and let me know. Email me with any questions or concern, folks.